provided you with a brief description that I gave you, and what I'm just kind of looking for is just the support from the board regarding law enforcement stance and the fentanyl bill. And I hope that you also got a chance to take a look at the position paper provided by Colorado Association Chiefs of Police, the County Sheriffs of Colorado, and the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police. Fentanyl has become the #1 crisis across this nation, and it is affecting every corner of every community, to include ours. I can tell you that fentanyl has become the #1 priority for the Southwest Drug Task Force team, and probably the #1 priority for all drug task force teams across the state of Colorado. A report that I just saw the other day, I believe it was from one of the Colorado news stations, or it was one of the newspapers. State of Colorado had over 900 deaths due to fentanyl. That's more than murders and traffic accident deaths combined. We've never seen this ever regarding any other type of illegal narcotic. And unfortunately, as you all saw in the newspaper last week, we are investigating a fentanyl pill that was located inside our middle school. Again, I just thank God that that student was very responsible and situationally aware that this did not seem right, and turned it over to a teacher, because otherwise it could have been a tragic event. Right now, this bill did get through the House, and it is working its way through the Senate right now, and it's moving very quickly. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to put a letter together that says that the town of Bayfield Board of Trustees support Colorado law enforcement, but just to know that you support our stance, and I can pass that on as we have our meetings going forward, and as we continue to try and get our amendment in. The biggest issue that we have, because fentanyl is so dangerous, is that there should not be a misdemeanor charge for any amount of possession for fentanyl. Zero.
Agreed.
We are taking a zero tolerance stance. So I'll answer any questions that you may have, and I guess basically I'm just looking for a nod of heads that you all agree and support law enforcement stance in this effort, and hopefully we can get our amendments through and get that changed so it's not a slap on the hand when it comes to fentanyl.
Definitely support you.
Give my support.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have my support as well.
And if you have any questions, I'll answer any questions. I'm not the drug expert. I'm not a task force expert, but I can tell you that the conversations, again, like I've had with them, is that this has become the #1 priority of the task force here. And again, it's probably the #1 priority of all task force across the state of Colorado.
Can I know we discussed this at budget season when there was possibly a device for law enforcement to use that could help sniff it out in vehicles. Has there been any advancement in that technology, or any more discussion on?
Well, the reason we were able to identify this as being fentanyl was because of that device. Now,
Okay.
that device was provided by the Southwest Drug Task Force team, so they came and analyzed that. So instead of us trying to send it to a lab and we
Okay.
wait, a week or 2 weeks to get the result, that's what that device is for. So I think the technology is still the same. It's not any different than what we asked to budget for last year. But that's what helped us to identify this in such a quick turnaround time.
But knowing that we have that tool at our disposal if we need to. That's,
As long as the task force is available
Okay.
to, come take a look at what we have.
Do our deputies have Narcan?
Yes, we all carry Narcan. We've carried Narcan. How long now? 5 years? Probably about 5 years we've carried Narcan, and we've actually used them in a number of instances. Another thing is having a discussion with the school district and the superintendent. They did pass to purchase Narcan to put them in the schools, in their school district. What we did temporarily, because they did have somebody who could train on the Narcan and how to use it, it's very easy and simple, but they're not sure how long it's going to take for them to get it. So we still had a few left in our supplies. We did provide that to the school district so they could put it in the high school and the middle school while they wait on their their supply to come in.
I understand that the library also jumped on board with,
That's correct. So Thursday morning, is it 9 or 10? I'd have to go back and look at the email. They're actually doing a free Narcan training. I don't know if they're going to have Narcan available to hand out, but they're going to do a free Narcan training. So anybody who takes that, and you know, at this point, Narcan is available to any regular citizen. It's not law enforcement or EMS or health professionals. Any citizen can purchase Narcan. So again, I can't remember if it was 9 or 10. But we will be at the library, and they'll be providing that free training regarding how to use Narcan.
We've had several deputies on the road using multiple times.
really,
Yeah, a lot.
wow. Scary deal.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions for Joe or? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Katie, you want to
Yeah.
open up your
So
discussion?
just a kind of reminder, I know Eric Church is on the front of your agenda with his microphone up to his mouth, but we do record this. This is on YouTube. We put this out on Facebook, and so just as you're speaking, if you'll just kind of remind yourself to speak towards the microphone so that we can get that on record. It also helps for minutes and the public at large. So anyway, FYI on that one.
Should I backtrack there and allow for public input? I was thinking the public input came at the action
That's up to-
agenda.
yeah. that's up
Yeah,
to you.
I was going to give you guys the action agenda section, but if anybody would like to speak on behalf of the senior center, I want to go ahead and throw that in now.
I'd kind of like to hear what is presented.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Well, as you are, or the trustees that have been on the council for a while are aware that we have been working with La Plata County to see if we could make a couple adjustments to the IGA and to the deed regarding the senior center. And the senior center, most of these were done in 2007 when it was under construction. In the records, we show that the town and the county participated $250,000 apiece. DOLA had a $1 million grant, and then there were other expenditures that were paid. It looks like the town paid a little bit more than $250,000. And there was also some contributions that came that the seniors themselves collected at the time. So the issues that we wanted to deal with were basically giving us the option of making some improvements. If more than anything, the gas shutoff needs to be moved to be usable by the public so that it's not dangerous. So we did have a walkthrough with J.D. Burke. He is not certified to review the gas shutoff, but we are aware that the gas shutoff would have to be moved without a special training, and obviously could be putting staff and their community at risk if the shutoff isn't in the correct place. Of course, and there's also some other fire retardants in the system that would have to be reviewed, and we have not had a chance to make sure that they're operable. Public Works Assistant Public Works Director Corey Griffiths went through and did our first fire inspection for this review. But there's a lot of things that we would like to do with the senior center and allowing the community to use the senior center. We felt that some of the items in the IGA and the deed were somewhat oppressive as far as getting plans and engineered plans before we sent that to the county. And so we looked at it, the fact that we just like a list and have a little freedom to do some changes to the senior center, especially if we're going to spend your money. You may remember that we had a $10,000 automatic door that we asked the county to replace. So there's nothing, they're not cheap items. We had a number of items regarding moving a wall around, making storage a little bit better for the senior center. So in that, we've been kind of working with that for a couple months. And at the same time, actually back in the fall, Senior Services Vicki Mestis wanted the town to take over the retail food license. And I told her, I said, well, we would like to take that over, but I think that before we do that, based on the needs of the town, we would like a little more freedom to make some changes to the senior center without going through what we consider a process through the county. So by December, obviously that was getting ready to renew, and Vicki Mestis called and said, well, it's about to renew. The town will take it over, right, in January. And I was clear with her that we had already talked to Chuck Stevens, the county manager, and told him that we wanted to make some changes to the IGA, which I had actually talked about. And so then in December 29th, I said, well, these are the changes that we had talked about a while back, and here's the changes we wanted to make. And so those are in your packet, the changes we wanted to make at that time, and this is back in December. So there was a change to no longer own. The town can't transfer the property anyway. So instead, I just put managed and operated, and took out the used by the town of Bayfield primarily as a community center for the senior citizens of La Plata County, Colorado. So in other words, there was some other language about this use shall be met if the predominant use of the properties for operation. And when I talked to Mike at the time, he said, yeah, it probably needs to be clear what predominant use is. And I said, yeah, I said at the time it probably made sense. It was before the senior center was even built. And then the IGA, we simply wanted the properties no longer managed and operated, basically the same text. And approval of construction plans. So in other words, just future building and related improvements together with any alterations, additions, or improvements thereto, or replacements, expansions, or changes or use that shall be in compliance with all applicable federal, state, and municipal laws and regulations. Basically, all I took out is if after construction had begun, the town desires a structural change. So in other words, this was during construction, not necessarily during or after construction. It was occupied for those changes. We did not hear anything from the county. In fact, didn't get a yay, nay, got the email. And then during the
Pandemic.
joint board work session with the Board of County Commissioners, I asked them, what's the status of that? And their comment was, well, we're working on it. So, okay, so we didn't get anything. And then we had Mike Seacrest basically came down and did inspection or just a walkthrough of the senior center. He had never been there before. I think Kristen, Becky, myself, and Kathy Cathcart were all there on that interview. So he came up with some very great ideas about how the county could participate, and we were kind of floored and happy to hear that they wanted to participate. We think that they have some great resources. We don't want them to pay for the resources, no manage the resources. We just wanted to know what they were. Help us understand what programs you're giving so we can just mimic that in Bayfield. We just need a contact name and what they do and things like that. So that he also wanted me to contact the senior citizens, and I asked him, are you talking about the senior board or are you talking about the senior citizens? He was confused. He said, well, the senior citizens of the area. I said, okay. So I sent an email to Carol McWilliams stating that the Mike Seacrest and the town would like to know what you want. We would like to write down what the town wants, and then have Carol, or if she has somebody else, to respond to what the seniors want. I have not received a response from anybody at the seniors. I am aware that the senior citizens, I'm not sure who, met with the La Plata County, and we were basically told it's the same old thing. I said, okay, well, what does that mean? Okay, so we really don't know exactly what they asked La Plata County. So, and then we had the door. And as Mayor Pro Tem Dallison can remember, and my staff can remember, it was very complimentary. Just ask. You've never asked, right? I said, no, we've never asked, so just ask. So that's exactly what we did. And the letter that's dated the 30th of March was basically their ideas. We would share the retail food license. Could be shared. That was their idea. That didn't come from the town. The county may fund staffing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. That came from the county. That was not something that we asked for during that meeting. The county's coordinator would share a program, who and what and how we could contact. So in other words, if you got a program, just share it with us and we'll pay for it or put it on or coordinate it or whatever it needs to take. And then the senior services resources would be under La Plata County Senior Services and provided as such. Keep in mind that the town is not, we're not trained to be human services. We're not trained in senior services, but they have a great resource, and all we want them, if there's resources that they have, that they share it with the town, which they've done in the past and will continue to share. So in that, we responded to town immediate plans and concerns. We were going to have cameras for security, one of the things that the senior actually asked for, because their chairs and tables that were out on the deck were disappearing. So we do understand that we need better security down there. We first of all got the lights turned back on at night, and I didn't know what that was going to take, but we got those turned on. Mayor Pro Tem Dallison also suggested an electronic keypad. We're going to be doing that with the restrooms, so they are locked and unlocked at certain times, and then you can use a keypad for other things. So there's other ways that we can secure the building. We also understand that the seniors may not have the physical ability to manage the setup and breakdown. That we understand. We are attempting to hire a senior center facility monitor, and actually we had a great candidate, and the candidate backed out because we did not provide benefits. So we have a second candidate that we think that we would like to consider. However, it's not our goal to basically pay somebody just to hang out at the senior center for the 3 days that we're open. We want basically some accountability that they're working or opening and closing and helping the seniors set up and break down, but not necessarily playing cards or some of the other activities. So, it's certainly your call if you want an employee, what they're doing. But the job description was basically very intermittent. They would come, open up, set up, make sure that everything worked, and then break everything down and leave. Also providing any benefit to other community members that want to use this commercial kitchen, and also going to the class to get a commercial retail food license certification to be a person, the operator in control. So we defined the predominant use just exactly as the seniors are using today. It would be 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We just felt that we just needed to return Phyllis Ludwig's $300 check, and then have sign-ins and sign-outs. And if it's left in a mess, we'll know who was there and basically contact them about cleaning it up and making sure it's presentable. The effective process for our improvement, we basically just wanted, if we want to make improvements, we don't want to spend a lot of time on engineers and architects and electrical engineers and then have the county say, well, we don't think we're going to approve this. So he said, well, we're not going to approve that just without any justification. And I said, well, could we have that in writing of what your justification is if you're going to deny something that you asked for? Can we just put a list together versus spending money and then finding out, in the case of moving the gas shutoff, it's going to be a very expensive electrical engineer, gas HVAC engineer, and an architect, basically, to move that gas shutoff and look at the fire suppression. And then treat the town as a partner. We are funding this. 80,000 last year, 90,000 is what is budgeted for 2022. And I think we're a responsible partner. I don't know what it was like in 2007 or 2008, but I believe that we're a responsible partner for the senior center as well. And if we feel that the county knows best how to operate the senior center, I don't think there's any argument that the county can operate the senior center. I said that's certainly within their agreement and their IGA that they would take that over. And I understand that there's a lot of information here. I did provide the full IGA as it was adopted. It was corrected, so this is the last version, and the deed as well in this document. Mayor Pro Tem Dallison was certainly at that meeting, and she's been attending some of the Pine River Senior Board meetings and may have more information of this process and where we've been.
Yeah, I think that there's just a lot of controversy between the three entities, the town of Bayfield, the county, and the senior center board, and that the senior center board is going directly to the county with any issues that they have, when the town is supposed to be the operator, even within the current IGA. And we've had a lot of senior citizens say that they don't even want the upgrades done to the kitchen, which I don't believe is even safe. And I do think that we do need to upgrade that building to a code and also give us opportunity for, I mean, the center is only used 3 days out of 5 days of the week. There's plenty of other people that would love to rent the center and use that kitchen as a use. And I think that we owe that to the community. I mean, the community is funding the senior center in a lot of ways out of our general fund. And that's a whole nother concern with the county and me saying why I feel like they should have more grit in this and more be able to help us with funding is because they get so much money. They completely fund our Durango Center, so why can't they help us? I mean, the IGA just puts Bayfield in a really bad position in a lot of ways. It doesn't allow us to ask for any money from anybody currently, and that's not fair to us. Durango has an entire senior center that's funded completely by the county, and we're getting hit with $80,000 last year and $90,000 this year that our citizens are paying for, and they aren't even able to use the center. So there's just a lot of controversy.
So, I mean, I agree with the fact that if the county's paying for Durango, then the county probably should, up the ante and pay for, our senior center as well. However, I kind of feel like this piece on here where we take out where it's predominantly senior centers use out of that IGA, we are in fact saying it's for the public, and I don't agree with that. Our older community is very, very important. Senior centers are important in every community. They help them to connect with each other. They help them to survive. They help them as they're growing older and the needs that they have that only they can understand. Because I'm sorry, I'm younger. I don't understand what you guys are going through. I'll get there someday. But to me, I don't want to take that away from them. I don't want to take it away that say, oh, this is now a public place for everybody to go to. This is the senior center, and it belongs to them.
So I
it
wanna-
was built for them.
I don't think that's the
Clarify
intent.
that it
I know
was,
that's
it was
not the
in
intent,
December
but
29th.
I
it's-
guarantee you that by crossing out those things and saying it in that manner and changing that verbiage on there, that is exactly the message we're giving to
So I want to
them.
clarify, that was December 29th, and that has changed since the meeting that we had with Mike Segrest
Yeah, and it's
in
stated
March.
on the page,
Yeah.
the Mike Seacrest letter, it states that we have changed that. And
Yes.
that the define prominent use, and it does give the senior center their days. So that has since changed.
Again, their days. I'm sorry.
So,
We're saying the same message. I'm sorry. I'm going to agree to disagree on that one.
I think the intent here is that kitchen upgrade needs to happen, that it's a safety concern. B, it's a completely underutilized facility when somebody rents it for a baby shower, a birthday party, an anniversary party. They can't even warm up food in there. It's pointless, that whole kitchen.
I'm not arguing the
So-
fact that there needs to be upgrades.
So, but when we're saying we
I'm
can utilize it
arguing-
as a rental, that is not being utilized during the senior hours.
And I think if you had presented it that way to them, to, hey, at your senior center, we need to raise money to do upgrades on the kitchen. What do you guys think about doing some, baby showers or something like that to rent it out? I mean, if you had presented it that way, it would come across differently to them. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I disagree, because I have been to those meetings, I've been with Katie, we have presented that, and the response from the senior board has been that they don't want other people in the senior center at all. They don't want to do the upgrades to the kitchen. Well, then I guess we disagree.
I mean, does the board have any other questions for clarification or any questions on the IGA?
I have a question. So I know the building is located in the town of Bayfield, but it's La Plata County property.
It is town of
town
Bayfield
of
property
Bayfield.
with a restriction by La Plata County
But
under the
okay, I
deed.
thought, I was
Yeah.
like, how's La Plata County come to
Yeah.
play? Of those who go to the senior center, are we seeing a mix of people who are town and people who are from La Plata County, who are not in the town?
Yes.
All right, so it's a combo, which is great, but when we're asking the county to assist in some of these things that we'd like to make the center better for all of our seniors, I feel as if the town is putting in funding, I do believe that the county should also, because we are supporting the county and the
100%.
town. And I also think that Durango, if the county is paying for everything that Durango is doing, and it's in Durango, like, I agree, I don't understand why there's no funding for us in Bayfield just because of the location. Like, what if this was outside of the town's border? Then is it the county has to pay for everything? Like, I don't understand what the structure is with the IGA. I think that the county should want to take care of their population as well as we are right now in the town. So whatever modifications need to be made to have them support us, I understand that. And I'd like to hear from our seniors who are here representing the center because it sounds like we have some disagreements on how things have been presented, and I'd like to hear what your opinion is right now on what this is. If no one
Yeah,
else has
it's,
any other questions.
I would,
Yeah. Get up there, now.
Of course, you know I'm going to. Phyllis Ludwig, 9205 County Road 521 here in Bayfield. And yes, we have been having some disagreements. I definitely think the kitchen needs to be upgraded. I had one of the firefighters come down, or not firefighter, the inspector come down, and he said some of that should never have been done when it was built. And I know it's been a long time, but I think FCI and the inspector pulled a good one on us. Just like they put the water lines in the roof. No insulation up there, nothing. We had broken water pipes for 4 years in the ceilings. So I think they should be contacted. I know there's a limit to some contracts and such, but boy, and that budget of $80,000, $9,000 just blows my mind. I don't know what in the world we'd spend all that on down at the senior center.
Well,
But we do not object to renting that center to anybody because that's, it brings money in. And before COVID, of course, everything was before COVID and Donald Trump, as they say, but it was rented quite a lot. They had weddings there, they had wedding receptions, birthdays, funeral dinners, and so forth. So it did make a lot more money then. And I'm hoping people will come around and rent it again. And we appreciate the 3 days we have. But we have asked the county to take over the senior center. And they are discussing it, they're thinking about it, and that would relieve the town of any responsibility of it. But it just seems like the county should take more activity, be active in it. Because like you say, and I totally agree, that they support the other centers, and every county supports their centers. And I think La Plata County should come in and do the same thing. I've talked to them recently, and they are, like I say, working on it. I hope it doesn't take as long as most government things, but I'm to talk to them 2 or 3 times a week. So we're hoping for better news. So thank you.
Hi, Charlene Johnson, and I live at 251 Clover Drive, and we would love to see that center rented a lot. Love to. We would like to see some restrictions when it is rented out, because I know this might sound a little minor, but Phyllis hosted a very nice dinner, luncheon for the fire department and the marshal's office. I personally, within the last, I don't know, year, have bought 3 cake servers. You know, just those simple little, okay.
They're all gone.
They're gone. They're gone. Because I don't know is when you do rent the building out, if you ask the people to bring your own utensils. But several of us have bought and rebought and rebought. And that, you know, that we just get tired of that. But as far as the kitchen, one of our biggest complaints, and has been since we've been in there, that big, beautiful kitchen, we, as seniors, when we have any of our functions, are not allowed in the county's kitchen. That's always been taboo. As far as like for baby showers or anything, you know, we tell them, you can use the little kitchen, but that's all we got for you. But some of the issues that just keep coming up, and the stubbornness on everybody's part, was right after COVID. Well, first off, we are still, I guess, immature. We cannot get a key for that building. It says down there in the front of the building, Senior Center. We as seniors are not allowed to have a key. We have to wait for someone from the town hall to come down, open it up. If they're running a little bit late, then we're running a little bit late, getting our programs or whatever started, going. Then we leave 2:33. We don't know for sure what time someone from town hall comes down and locks the door. But we have actually been sitting there playing cards or having lunch, and dogs and cats. We've even had deer walking up to the front because we have those electric doors. That's why we feel we need a key, because how can you guys get upset with us if a dog comes in and makes a real mess in the middle of the floor and we don't have a key to protect our own little building? And yeah, you know, we want the senior center to thrive for seniors, but we want a lot of hard feelings to end too. And some of you town council members know about some of the hard feelings that started with, we were going down there one day and our conference room is full of our stuff to be given away, first to the seniors and then to John Q. Public that wanted it, without our knowledge that the manager was going in and spending an entire weekend cleaning out and then giving our stuff away. Thank you.
Can I put a PS on mine? On renting the kitchen, we don't know who's going to be in there. You may have the biggest, dirtiest bunch in the town coming down there and using the kitchen, and who's going to sanitize it and take care of it if they do that? And the county is still talking about serving meals down there. They're not talking about turning it over to anybody. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't talk good anymore. First thing I want to say, you talk about a dirty pool.
Can you just state your name real quick for the record,
I'm
please?
sorry, I'm Kay Phelps. I live at 1048 North Oak Drive now, and I have for 8 years. I was a member bringing my dad to the senior center when it was at the school, and they moved the little kids out for the 2 days. I think we had 3 days in, and we ate. Moved the little kids out and they had sack lunches so we could use that kitchen in that room. That's how. And when, after taking Daddy and taking my mother-in-law, and finally all of a sudden I was old, and I felt very young, and everybody was talking about getting a senior center. So there were a few of us that decided we were going to go to the town board. And we did. And we had a bunch of our seniors sitting there. They didn't talk, they listened. They always listen to me because I'm always talking. It just seemed, we got the building going. I got Phyllis to join the senior center so she could run for president. Because I was taking care of a sick husband and my two family members that lived with me, my dad, my mother-in-law, and working. I could no more run for president. And she did it. Phyllis came and helped. We started talking and talking with the town board. They decided, yes, they wanted to get us a building. And they put us on that committee that helped, either good or bad, how that building is. We went around we went different places. One person, Marge Forsyth, who started the senior center, went with me everywhere we went to see things and tried to make it so that it would be somewhat to what everybody had. And that was, they took care of their seniors. They didn't expect them to put any money out. And it finally passed. The board said, okay, they got the grants. Some people donated. Many businesses in Bayfield donated. And it was called the Bayfield Seniors, Pine River Senior Centers. And people were included in that from outside, which was me at that time. I was in Gem Village. And those people pay taxes for everything they buy in this town. They have helped build the schools that are built just as much as Bayfield residents are. And they get cut down every time because they are not part of Bayfield. I want to say that's baloney. Bayfield was built by all of us. It wouldn't have been here without the cowboys that lived out in the country. And you need to respect that part. When we got this building going, the town come in and they threw away everything, all the dishes and stuff we used down there to cook, except we used the plates of the little kids. They just got rid of it. It was gone. Some of these people could have used that coffee pot that was thrown away, or things like that. It didn't happen. So we got the building going. Oh man, that was wonderful. And we got it built and got inside, and all of a sudden a lot of the things that went on for the seniors at that time had to stop. We bought the pool table, we bought a lot of things because we had gone around to see what the other senior centers were doing. And if it wasn't for that pool table, we probably would have 1 or 2 men come, but they loved the pool table. And the food was nice too. I mean, not always good, that's okay, we don't always cook good at home. But please realize that we've all got old and we have medical problems. And we can't clean the floors, and we can't mop, and we can clean toilets. We're good at cleaning toilets. But it shouldn't be our responsibility. The town promised us that it was their building and they would take care of that kind of stuff. They would have a coordinator who was there that would oversee certain things. I will tell you, and I'm going to bring her name up once. She's not here. She's happier where she's at. But Brenda cared about us all. She knew us by name. if we had a problem, if we had somebody that passed out there, she was the first one that was there. Yes, we called 911 immediately. But we collected things so they could lay on the floor and be comfortable and cover them and do all. She did so many things that if we had a coordinator, that would happen. I want to get back just to last Friday. The phone kept ringing and ringing. We're not allowed to touch the phone, none of us. And it over and over and over, and finally I got my nerve up to go pick up the phone and bring it back. Well, I didn't get the call because our meals were very late that day, and it was LaPlatte County trying to tell us that they were going to be there, but they couldn't make it because of people that don't want to work. We got it, but that could have been a person that was seeking help because they knew they could always call the senior center to get help because somebody was there to answer that phone. And I appreciate being able to sit down there and take the food that comes because we can visit. That's something we hadn't done since COVID took over. A lot of people won't come because we're old and we get in our ways. They don't want to come because they blame you. And they don't want to be there. They don't feel welcome, so they won't come. They won't listen to us. We need it back to where it was. Please help us. We can't earn that money anymore like we used to because they took away that right to where we could have different things that would earn money and we could share it. That can't be now. And that's not your fault. I don't blame you for that. But please, please, please think about us. We've built this town from our mother-in-laws and their father-in-laws that lived here. My husband was born here. They helped build this town. And now you're going to throw seniors out who built all these beautiful schools. Think about it.
Thank you, Kay. I really do appreciate your input. All right. Do we have any other public input?
I'm Leroy Powers, and I live at 427 Lakeside Drive. I just want to say that everything you've heard from these seniors at Yay Report, I agree with them. And things, and then I do have one question. I've been told that the cameras are in. Well, how come they're not put up yet?
Becky, do you have an update?
Yeah, so Noah Enterprises, they ordered all the equipment and we're just on the schedule for them to get into install them. So,
We're just waiting.
yep, we're waiting for
I'm president of the senior center. I don't understand why we can't have a key there for the building. That goes, and after every meal, we clean up, empty the trash, and make sure everything's put back up. And that, there, but I just agree with everything that was said, and we want the senior to be a part of it. I agree that LaPlatte County, if they can do it for Durango, they could surely do it for Bayfield.
I agree.
Thank you, Leroy. All right. We will, like I said, this is coming up again in the agenda, so I'm going to move on to our financial action items. Do we have any general public input pertaining to items 4A or B on the agenda? All right. Did everybody get a chance to review the April 2022 disbursements?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the April 2022 disbursements.
Accept.
Accept, sorry.
I'll second.
Accept.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, electric service for block parties and community events on Mill Street.
Yeah, so we had a request basically to see if we could get electric service to Mill Street. We're redoing the gateway to Mill Street down to Taco Boy, but we're not going any further than that. So we decided to have A to Z to come out and to decide what would take to get electrical service basically to Polish, which is the kind of the beige building where the town has typically been asked for access to the electric power there. And so John came out, he gave us a quote of extending electric service basically from the alley area forward to Mill Street would be about $4,100. That would include coordinating public works with some trenching and some equipment work with that. And I just happened to mention that to a community development director, Killian, and she said, well, by the way, the owners of that property and the adjacent property would like to do a boundary adjustment. And I know, and I am aware that at an earlier conversation I had with the owners that they would like to vacate that driveway. The driveway was what I understand, a court battle between those owners and David Black because he had the two buildings that are south of there that needed access to that driveway. Since David Black is no longer the owner of those two parcels of land, San Juan Vans has agreed they see no reason to have it open, that they would be more than happy to see that driveway vacated. It is a driveway, it is not a town street. We certainly get some comments on that driveway, but if we vacated it, we've asked the owners if they would consider a pedestrian walkway through there and, you know, create kind of a nicer area in there. And I will certainly let Nicole explain how they felt about that. It would require perfecting of the easement. We do have utilities in that easement, and it would just be a matter of perfecting them to include the electric easement as well. They are working on a boundary adjustment, and I'll let her explain any parts of that.
Yeah, so coincidental timing, but they are going to go through a boundary adjustment. Per our code, it's a minor adjustment, so it is administrative, so it doesn't need to go to the Planning Commission or the Board of Trustees. But again, I did request that we also add a pedestrian easement into that current easement, since they are proposing to close that driveway for through traffic. And talking about how to do that, one of the possibilities is bollards or some sort of gate there that allows pedestrians to get through, but not vehicles. So we'll still be working through that process. They haven't formally submitted for the boundary adjustment yet, but as part of that, we'll make sure we get that easement expanded, working with the town attorney.
Nicole, I'm just trying to look up what this driveway is right now, and when I'm looking at Google Maps, I'm seeing Southwest Street. Is it a street or a driveway?
It's
a
a
driveway.
private driveway, so you're not gonna see it. Here's Mill Street, and it's just right here, so it's not platted, and it's mainly on this property. And that's the access that they use to get down to, the town has right-of-way right in here. La Plata Electric owns this parcel right in here, and then you could see, this is a similar situation to what we were just talking about behind, I highlighted the lot behind the laundromat, where you can see there's no actually platted alley, so the property lines go to the center line. But we would call that a prescriptive easement, where it's been utilized by the public for many years, and therefore at some point it becomes prescriptive. It's the same in this, along this property as well, because this is one property. But, so you can see it right in here. You can see the curb cut.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, yeah, Google Maps calls it Southwest Street. It doesn't look like it is a driveway, it
Yeah.
looks like it's a street.
Yeah, and I've reviewed all the plats, and
Okay.
it's not a platted street, so Google
Interesting.
Maps has it incorrect.
I know, Google's not always right. But no, that's why I'm looking at this, like, where's the extra driveway? I see a street.
Yeah, and so they're gonna come in and do a boundary adjustment, behind this property, and as part of that, expand that easement language.
So this was kind of one of my requests as we are heading back into our festival season and bringing our block parties back 4th of July. It has been completely frustrating to always have to rely on a business to run an extension cord, to plug in the band, to plug in. And I said, why can't we just get, some electric out here for us? Well, it ended up being a little more complicated, but I think the solution in the end is to have a pedestal that could also have a food truck running too, because currently a food truck has to run a generator and it drowns out the street. It's a little frustrating, but I think this might be a win-win situation for the homeowner there. And I think it would also create 2 additional parking spaces on Mill Street because we're closing that off. So just kind of,
Yeah, at least one, I haven't done the measurements.
okay, maybe,
but
maybe two,
two.
but at least one. So if you have any questions or,
I think it's pretty inexpensive too. I was thinking that
well,
was
and
gonna cost us a
well,
lot
I know
more.
that it's kind of on the burden of our Public Works to do the trenching and stuff like that, but they're willing to do that for us.
And we would have to get a perfected easement.
Yeah.
Even if they don't go through the boundary adjustment, that would have to be done. So I don't think they are in favor of this process, so.
Shouldn't be a problem. Then I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I will make a motion. Once I find what I'm motioning. Motion to authorize the town manager to approve the quote for $4,100 and coordinate corresponding activities as necessary for the electric service easement.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, where in the budget is it?
So you saved almost $5,000 in not having an election. So you could use that $4,100 for that.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
I sworn
Oh.
we had that same discussion last time about
For the
how-
door.
How we could, the door. Okay, I was like, wait a second. I
done the
thought
door
that
yet.
5,000
The door's in
was
a-
somewhere else.
The door's in a holding
Spent
pattern.
The door.
Okay.
Now when the door
Door's on
comes,
a
we don't
holding
have
pattern.
that.
No,
Until
no,
we figure
thank
out
you
what's
for
going
that
on.
clarification, because I'm like, wait, I thought that was already reallocated.
Roll call.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes,
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to our land use action agenda. Do we have any public input pertaining to items 5A or B on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to ordinance 477.
Yes, so this, if you recall at your last meeting, you gave final approval for the orchard planning and development. But at that time, I had mentioned that I should have done an ordinance as part of that, and I did not. So that's what is in front of you tonight is the ordinance to approve the rezoning from what's currently multifamily to the plan unit development. And then there's some red lines in your ordinance that the town attorney had added some additional language.
Any questions, comments from the board? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 477, approving the orchard planning unit development zoning.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke. Yes. Trustee Moreland.
Yes,
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, ordinance 478.
So ordinance 478 is as a result of the conversation that you had on April 5th regarding, is it time to have 6 community members on the planning commission and the mayor as the ex officio. So I have added that language of 6 to whom are recommended by the planning commission, approved by the town board. The mayor shall serve as ex officio member. Then 2 was added, The Board of Trustees shall appoint a trustee to serve as an ex officio alternate in the event the mayor is absent or unable to attend, which there have been times we needed a quorum at the Planning Commission, so that he can only, or that ex officio can only serve if the mayor is not available. And then the mayor or ex officio alternate shall have the same rights to make motions and vote as any other member. So I just basically had to modify this to consider the fact that both members would not all be currently sitting on the Planning Commission at the same time. And then on C was parts 2 and 3 of Title 31, Article 23, CRS 1973 as amended. Town Attorney Goldman had identified that this got taken out of the March 2021 ordinance and needed to be put back in.
Any questions?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 478, Planning Commission Land Use Code, Section 2-3.
I second it. Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
trustee Dallison,
Yes.
trustee Harts,
Yes.
trustee Luke,
Yes.
trustee Moreland,
Yes.
trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to our action agenda. Do we have any public input pertaining to items 6A through C on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to.
Oh, you got somebody standing up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Too quick.
Woo! Come on in. Come on in.
Kat Katzos, 525 Dev Ranch Road. I had no intention of talking at all this evening. But in one of my past lives, I was the activities director for the Archuleta County Senior Center. And we were a very well-run center. We had a director of that center. We had an activities director. We had a kitchen. We had a full functioning kitchen. We fed our seniors 4 days a week. It was an exceptional senior center. I would suggest that it sounds like this has gotten far enough down the road that it might be sort of a piecemealing thing that's being taken care of, or quick Band-Aids. So what I would suggest is that a full step back is done, maybe even talk to our lawyer about this IGA and make it fair, make it workable for both La Plata County and for the Bayfield Senior Center. You've heard your seniors' needs and wants, and so I think that there's a way to encapsulate that, even if it's a part-time person, where if the senior center is only open from 10 until 2 or 10 until 3, most of you folks probably are out of there by 2 or thereabouts. 9 to 3, that you need someone there full-time. You need someone there to respond to emergencies. You need someone there to facilitate challenges that they might have. For us to not have someone on staff there at the senior center to serve these people appropriately, and not just giving them a key, but literally someone there to help them out. It's absolutely necessary. And I think you could model it after any other well-ran senior centers in the state of Colorado. So it might even mean that you go out and collect what works best at your senior center, and you try to incorporate a holistic, solution for them, as opposed to bits and pieces. Their concerns are valid, but there's a better way to address it. So my experience says that you can have a great senior center, even if it's on a limited basis. That's my 2 cents.
I agree.
Thank you. Any other public input? All right. So, I mean, I'll just start off. I see the value in that senior center. I know the importance of that in this community. I have so much pride in that building. That is an amazing place. I think it's just completely frustrating that we're having a little bit of a power struggle with the county. And I think it's embarrassing, the lack of programs that are there for you. There should be exercise classes, there should be arts and craft classes, there should be things all the time for you there. And I just kind of feel like, I think after our discussion today, I just want to really sit down with the county and hash this out. Because our attorney has looked at the IGA. We've gone back and forth. We've made corrections, and we're still not seeing eye to eye with the county on our needs. And I'm hearing you out. If it's the wish of the seniors to hand this back over to the county, then we need to sit down and have that conversation with the county. So I would
Yeah.
move
Because
to,
anytime that we've brought that up to the county too, it has been put with.
They don't want it?
They don't
They-
want it. They don't, they want us
but then
to-
they don't want to give us
they-
full ability to run it. So it's,
So there is just controversy about it all, and that none of us seem to be able to get on the same page
Mm-hmm.
about where can Bayfield get the funding for the senior center that's actually appropriate for the senior center, and we're not getting an answer. It's really frustrating.
Phyllis would like to say something.
go ahead, Phyllis.
Thank you. The county has been talking to me about trying to get some more activities out here from them, which I definitely agree with. And they are leaning more toward, hopefully, either helping the county or our senior center or, talking about taking it over or whatever. So I am seeing a little bit of daylight at the end of the tunnel. And we have been running, some of our members, our own exercise classes and our arts and crafts and things like that, trying to keep people coming. And so far, it's helping. But very often, the one that's supposed to be teaching it doesn't show up, and they're set. And somebody else tries to teach it, and no telling what you turn out with arts and crafts. But anyway, thank you.
Thanks. So I think at this time it would be just worthy of tabling this. Let's try to get all the right people in the room. So,
And I'd still like to see the keypad happen, because I feel like it's not just the seniors and the key issue. It's been a key issue forever, because we don't know who has keys, people don't return them, then we have to change locks.
Yeah, we do have a much better system of keys
Yeah,
than
so
we
we need to
did.
just have a better system
Yeah.
in place for that
Yeah.
before, and that's not just the seniors, it's everybody with the key issue.
And the person that you have, the potential for this overseeing person, will they be at the facility?
So the senior center facility monitor was what the title of that person, and basically was to open it up, make sure everything's running, make coffee, put tables out, make sure everything's going, and then come back and close it up, put the tables back up, or put the trash out, or whatever that may be. And the last person that left, we don't provide benefits to a part-time person. So even if they'd have to be working 32 hours a week to even get benefits, and that's,
it's a whole nother budget item,
it's a whole nother budget item.
When we had somebody from, what was the company, the temporary Unistaff?
Unistaffing, yeah.
So when we had somebody from Unistaff employing somebody or coming, we had somebody here at Town Hall doing other work.
That's correct.
And they didn't necessarily love that. They didn't like coming.
Difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanna do one or
wanna
the
do one
other.
or the other. They don't want to
Yeah.
be responsible for both. So it's just really hard to hire somebody, because currently the facility isn't being used for long enough hours to get somebody enough hours to get them benefits.
And I have not gotten any idea of when they're going to start congregate meals. Keep in mind that the town of Bayfield decided to open up for Meals on Wheels, where Durango has not opened up for congregate meals. So we opened up many months ago, actually almost a year ago, and at this point, I'm not aware that Durango has been open to congregate meals at this point. So, there's a lot of things that we went ahead and did to get the seniors back in the center. I mean, that's the goal of all of us, including the staff, is to have the seniors in the center, also operating the center efficiently.
I wonder, in the meantime, before that person is put in place, and what's going to happen with the county and the city, if there's some way to address the phone issue.
yeah, I was wondering if that could
Yeah,
that could
I'm not
forward
aware
or-
that they were ever not allowed to answer the phone.
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever, never came from my direction. And I'm not aware if that came from somebody else that was managing. Keep in mind, we've had a lot of
Turnover.
temporaries at the senior center, and they move on to other positions, so. And if there was an issue, a phone call to me would have helped.
Yeah.
So the phone can be.
We'd like you to call us back once in a while.
Kay,
I'm
we'll,
sorry. I'm sorry.
we'll work through all
I
this.
return all phone calls, except for by salesmen.
So, Katie, are you looking for, I mean, I think we're pretty much all on board that we need to sit on this and dig deeper. Do you need a direction, or do we need to make a motion to table this till a future date, or can we just call that direction and?
So if you're tabling something, we're just tabling any other action on this item. And you may have to determine what direction you're going to give staff at some point. It seems very clear that the county's given us kind of an ultimatum as this is how you're going to do it, which if that's what they would like, that's fine.
So, I mean, I guess the direction is to set up a meeting with the county and have the discussion about.
Can this be on our May 31st joint trustee planning commission work session?
I would think that you would put it on the joint
Yeah.
work session you're going to have with the Board of County Commissioners on the 13th.
I'm
And
sorry.
just be very specific that, you know.
June 13th, yeah.
June
Yeah.
13th, excuse me, is the date that, you know, here county, the seniors want you to take this over. The
Okay.
town of Bayfield believes that maybe this is the better direction, that the county take this over, and make sure that they're aware of that before that meeting agenda is put together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I think that would be the motion to table this and include it on the June 13th agenda with the joint work session with the Board of County Commissioners.
And I am scheduled, and Lori's scheduled, to meet with the senior board on the 11th at their regular meeting. And so we plan to attend that as well.
The meeting with the county commissioners is
The 13th of
June?
June, it's a Monday at 7:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Do we know where that is, Katie?
To be determined.
Oh, it's still.
I'm sorry?
That location hasn't been determined. It's probably going to
It's
be.
here.
It's, okay.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, well, we make them come to us.
Yes, thank you.
So I would entertain a motion. If someone's-
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we table this discussion until the joint meeting with the county commissioners on June 13th.
Yes.
Ma'am, I do have another question, I'm
Yes.
sorry. So if we're tabling this and not making any, we're going to be asking them to maybe take this over, does this stop any kind of hiring process for a staff member? That you-
Currently, we're opening it and closing it. We're opening it before 9 o'clock and closing it after 3 o'clock.
Okay, so,
And managing any phone calls we get from the seniors regarding any issues. In fact, we got one today, and we're managing that.
Okay, thank you. Sorry,
It's okay. We have a motion
I'll second that motion.
and we have a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, Resolution 519.
Resolution 519 is a resolution, well, I'm going to let Community Development Director Hilly take that one.
Yes, so this, if you recall, we came to you in March to talk about looking at some funding to do a pedestrian crossing on Highway 160 near the Commerce Drive, because we do have pedestrians crossing there right now, and so we're looking at a safe crossing.
Nicole, do you want to pause really quick?
Sure.
I think. Thank you guys for coming today. It was just a little noisy there, so.
So I'll just kind of repeat. In March, we came to the board and discussed the possibility of applying for some grant funding to do a study and some engineering design work for potential safe pedestrian crossing at this location on 160. This is North Commerce. We do have a lot of pedestrians that actually use that location right now to cross, and so we want to look at a study to see if it's warranted and a design to see what type of crossing we could put in at that location.
Hi, ladies, sorry, can you?
And so we are applying for some grant funding for that. It's called the Multimodal Transportation and Mitigation Options Fund. That funding can come from both the state and federal funding. The grant is due next Monday, and we're pretty far along with writing that, but we need to get a resolution from the Board of Trustees to support applying for that grant funding. And again, that grant funding is going to cover study. We have to do a study to show that there's a warrant for that crossing. And then if we do show there's a warrant, then the preliminary engineering work for that design. And so it's a total of $60,000 for those two items, which would be, it's a grant that's a match, so it would be $30,000 from the grant and then a $30,000 match that we would need to get approval from the Board of Trustees out of our transportation fund. And then if we do, again, if the warrant is there and the design work is complete, then we would go after another grant. They do offer this grant every year, so we would possibly look at this one or some other grant options. Right now, there's a lot of different grant options coming out of the federal and state to actually do the construction of that project. So this would be the first two phases of the project.
And are you all aware where what we're talking, this crossing?
Well, I was trying to figure out where it's coming from.
So they
the
cut
Bayfield
through
Parkway.
the pawn shop.
Yeah, so they
And-
come up Appaloosa and come over to Pony and then cut through the pawn shop property.
Oh, that's not where I cut through.
Right across.
That's where I was like, where are they going? Because I cut through over there, and I'm like, whose land is that?
So,
That's not where you.
but it's, I just
not
think
jaywalking.
it's a heavily used,
Yeah, it happens a lot.
It's-
I think
Especially
kids too.
middle schoolers
Yeah.
and high schoolers that are walking
Cutting
home
through.
from school to go to the other side of town. It's, yeah.
Well, and writing the grant proposal, there's a lot of reasons why we really need to look at that. Our town is bisected by the highway. We have one signal over here, but if you're living in most of our residential neighborhoods in the south side, to get to the only grocery store in town, you're crossing the highway. A lot of people don't want to walk all the way down to the signal to get over. And then we're also looking at a Mustang stop, approximately right across from
yeah.
the library, and that would go between Durango and Pagosa and eventually further up to Denver. And so getting people safely to that new location. And so there's a lot of reasons, Mill Street, we want to activate Mill Street and encourage that more, but we've got, half of our population on the north side. So having that extra crossing, there's a lot of benefits that we were able to enhance or highlight in the documentation for the application. So really, we just need to get the board's approval of the resolution so that we can complete the application and get that submitted by Monday.
Don't we have to have an easement on the south side to be able to get to there?
So we're going to be working with our engineers on that, but pulling the plats, this looks like it has like one little point that's touching, this is right-of-way and this is CDOT right-of-way. But when you pull the plats, it's actually a larger area on the plat. So we're going to evaluate that. We may have the right-of-way we need right now.
That's where I cut through.
Yeah, we may have the right-of-way we need right now to make this connection, but we'll determine that, through the engineering and just looking at those plats
Because
closer.
everybody's cutting through the pawn shop now, which is, and that's out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah, well,
that
we
lets that
wouldn't
happen.
want to continue that through private property, which actually is owned by the school district. The pawn shop's leasing, the school district owns that property. But we wouldn't want to
They
encourage.
still own that?
Yes.
Yeah. We wouldn't want to encourage that as much as if we have right-of-way adjacent to CDOT right-of-way, that's where we want to really look at a crossing where we don't have to acquire any additional right-of-way. So, again, our engineers will be evaluating that during the preliminary engineering phase of it. And if we have to acquire right-of-way, we'll need to put that into that next phase.
And we have the money in our transportation account, and I think this is something that
You
definitely,
knew I was gonna ask that.
I know, that's why I just,
We're also talking about the traffic light and all of that, and that was some funding. Is this in that same budget? Is
It's
this
a different,
This is separate?
well, we
So
haven't.
we talked about the fact that there's $500,000 that was given by the school district for the intermediate school construction, and it was in escrow basically, or in our account. Then there was 300 and some $1,000 that came from when CDOT transferred 160B, I guess, to the town, and they gave them a large amount of money. Most of that was used for the Twin Bridge construction and acquiring those property there. So there's 300 some $100,000 that's in that account. And so when we talked to the board, we understand that the $500,000 should go towards the light. The $300,000 is still within your discretion to use for, and this could be how we're using it. All those funds are basically in the street fund, exactly where this would be paid out of.
No, thank you.
And just for the signal, we are looking at some grant funding to help with that as well as the two developments on either side participating in that. So that's a little bit further down, but yeah, we're going to be looking at hopefully writing some grants, because there's a lot of infrastructure money coming, especially out of the federal government right now, and we want to see if Bayfield can get some share out of that. So we'll be looking at other grants. Okay.
And so while we're on that topic, we also identified that Clover 7, we're acquiring certain street intersection improvement. And Community Development Director Killian found out that that's for the improvement of Clover and Bayfield Parkway, and not the intersection of the east intersection to 160. So it's about $42,000. And now that we were getting this better identified where those funds were meant for and where they're going to go.
And actually, Clerk Cathcart's the one who pointed that out to me.
There we go. We found it.
okay. Any other questions, comments? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 519, approving the MMOF grant application submittal and appropriating $30,000 for the required match.
I'll second that.
All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, Resolution 520.
So when you make such a drastic change in rates, we're going to miss something. And I think that we discussed the Gem Village commercial accounts last meeting and talked about the fact we think that there's a fair way to bill those accounts. And so with that came some additional items. In other words, there was some misunderstanding interpretation of all gallons refers to gallons if the account is a town water customer, or if the town can verify metered water from La Plade. It did not mean that we somehow took the residential minimum and applied that to commercial accounts. So that, we would just want to make sure that's clear. The definition of La Plade probably needs to be in there, just so that it's in there. The WIN average and identifying winter average of the water metered November through March, and if there's no history or no water reading, the corresponding rate will reflect no usage. And I think there was some misunderstanding by staff, but we're just going to clarify that. The garbage rates, I will be getting you that garbage ordinance regarding a potential for out-of-town or commercial users to be enrolled and eligible for our garbage rate. And so that, I realize that the newer trustees have not seen that draft, but it will be coming to you in an ordinance fashion. And then utility fees regarding the water permit, we determined that we had missed that in the changes, so we're just adding a sustainable, severe, or extreme for residential, and then commercial, and that application would actually come to the Board of Trustees, because I think that if we have a commercial account wanting a this kind of water permit. I think we need to know what's going on, why they need that. And then a water hydrant. That had never been adopted by the board officially, so we're just making sure that that's in there. And this is basically a supplement to 506. We are working on multifamily rates for in of town and out of town that we really need to do more evaluation, determine really what we have out there so staff isn't making an arbitrary guess on that. So we will be coming back and just basically putting this all together in one final resolution. But we wanted to make sure we got this one done for Gem Village today.
Board have any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution 520 supplement to the Resolution 506 utility rates.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to board reports. Anybody have anything to add to their reports? Keep in mind, we will have that joint Planning Commission Board of Trustees meeting May 31st. That's at 6:30, correct? Okay. And you have your schedule in front of you. The other thing is for the new board members, we do have that joint meeting with the Board of County Commissioners. It happens 3-4 times a year. 3 times a year?
3 times.
4 times. We'll have breakfast here, and if you can make that, we'll keep you posted on that. But any other questions, comments?
I just had one, I wanted to make sure that Alexis and Eli saw that I just went ahead and registered you for CML. We already have lodging for you identified, so you can change that. I just thought we'd just get you registered, so.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
And then I just, on that joint meeting on March 30, or May 31st, sorry, I'm going back in 2 months. On May 31st, we're going to try and get the packet out to you all because of the holiday, at least another week earlier. So hoping by the 20th, it'll be out. So that'll give you 11 days to kind of look through the materials.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I will adjourn this meeting. It is 8:03. All right, survived it.
We use SGM Engineering. They're out of Durango.
Bob Winterstrom.
We're not sure yet. It's part of like the study.
I'm over it.
Lindsay. Yeah. I don't know if we could afford that one.
I've never been in politics before, so.